black marriage. Y'all already know this, but let's look at the stats anyway. In 1960, approximately 61% of black people were married. By 2008, the number was 32%, almost half. Currently, about 27%, this is actually up over the last couple of years because it used to be 24%. Of black women are married, and about 1 in 3 black men are married. About 50% of U.S. adults have never been married. 1 out of 2. Right. So think about that. 50% have never been married. And I didn't put it up here, but the divorce rate right now in the black community is hovering around 50%. Until 1970, black women were more likely to be married than European women. That's right. That's 2 years after Gloria Steinem released her manifesto after Black Power, women's liberation. So almost up into the moment that she wrote that, black women were more likely to be married than European women, and it's been all downhill ever since. Let's see. While 27% of black women are married, 61% have at least one child. Meanwhile, only 46% of black men have children, despite 33% of black men being married. I'm gonna stop right here. Those two stats are the root of a lot of the issues. Let me correct myself. These two stats are the root of a lot of the discussion and a lot of the complaint that black men have. They don't say it. Yeah, brother, these are the most recent numbers I can find. Like the numbers have, like a lot of the numbers from this latest report have shown a lot of the statistics going up, a couple of percentage points. But as I was saying, this is the root right now of a lot of the complaint, because ultimately it's about at the psychological root. The biggest complaint that men have, not just black men, but men in general, is women have, especially in the black community now, what I'm about to say, women have for not quite as long as I've been an adult, but almost as long as I've been an adult, black women have been disparaging their quote unquote baby daddy, right? I mean, again, we're talking since the 90s, definitely. It seemed to be a thing that started happening in the 90s, right? So the 90s, that's 30 years ago, because it's almost 2025. So for 25, 30 years, 30 years, 2 generations now. 2 generations, black women have been saying that their children's father is not worthy. I'll say, because we're trying to keep it clean here, right? Now, the thing about it is, when you say that, and then men who kind of intuitively know the disparity as far as number of childless men to childless women, then what women are saying without actually intending to say it is that they have chosen lesser men to reproduce with, and then come to other men to complain about the lesser men that they reproduce with. Right? Now, we're just going based on what the women are saying about the men. We're not talking about doing further investigation. We're not talking about none of that. So that sets the perception to the men that there's no point in being men of character, being men of principle, being men who are loyal, being men who are upstanding. Because what's the point of doing any of that if the men who are the opposite of that are the ones that are reproducing? Because ultimately, at the root of forming a relationship, one of the primary goals is reproduction, right? Like we like that, for whatever reason, we like to just skip over that part because we've been reproducing so randomly and willy-nilly that nobody actually like to look at it and say, oh yeah. Because this is, again, it takes two people to produce one person. And then the part that we like to forget is the fact that it takes two people minimum to make that one person into a healthy African in our case, right? Minimum. So we start off with reproduction and then wonder why our people are in the condition they're in. But Elijah Muhammad said something wise. He said the origin of a thing determines its nature. If our children are born in chaos, our children are born in dysfunction, our children are born in the middle of vitriol and hatred between the parents, it's much more difficult for that child to grow up psychologically healthy. It's much more difficult for that child to grow up to be a high achiever. Much more difficult for that child to grow up to respect and love Black people, right? But we don't want to look at that part. We don't want to look at the fact that we have, from the inception of the child, set them up to fail by the nature in which they were created. You see what I'm saying? We're not looking at it that way. But it's the reality of the situation. And some of us have lived through it as children. And some of us have overcome it. And many of us have not. Right? But that's the reality of the situation. So when sisters hear men complain about that, what's the term they use? Chad and Tyrone, or Pookie and Ray Ray, and all that. This stat: 27% of women married, 61% having children, but only 46% of men having children. This is the root of that disparity, and that disparity it alters men's perception of women, and it makes dating more difficult because you simply have less childless women for men to be able to form families with. It's just that. It's that simple.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_one. And the Cashapp is $DcRadical1. Again, thank you for subscribing. Abibi for ODA and straight Black pride.